Hello, my name is Paul Bartlett. I'm a wood turner here in Southwest Florida. I've done a lot of videos in there of my more complex stuff that I do. I've always had in the back of my mind I'd like to make a quantity of small, simple boxes that could maybe be done by beginners or anybody. Be a good beginner project. And had gotten a truckload full of what I call Chinese pallet wood. The ships come into Tampa from China loaded with steel, and these are the 3x3 bolsters that all the steel is stacked on. A guy takes them and makes pallets out of them, but he had a lot of extras, so he bought a truckload of them from him, and they're fairly nice wood. So what I did was I made, let's see if I can let you just see these here. Made 17 boxes, and they're about 2.5 inches in diameter. But instead of making just a plain box, I added an accent into the top, and the insides are flocked. So I did a video of every operation, how I did it, and kept track of the time. And I did 17 of them, and it turned out it takes about an hour and 10 minutes per box. So I don't know if that's profitable or not, but it's getting close. You could do these without the insert, and you could probably cut that time in half, but you'd need some more interesting wood to make the boxes out of rather than the stuff I use. So something to think about. So anyway, the video you're about to see is going to show you all the processes I do, and hope you enjoy it. Thank you for watching. Okay, we're going out to the woodshed to pick out some pieces for this, my lidded box video. This is my woodshed here. And you can see I got a little bit of stash in here. And what I call my second chance shelf there. A lot of my fixtures. So this is the Chinese pallet wood that I've been telling you about. Kind of looks like that when we got it in the rough. I cleaned everything up, and I got a lot of pieces here, and so what I do is I picked 2 or 3 out of this pile here that look to have they're mostly all the same wood. There's a few of them that seems to be a little different, a little softer. So I picked one like this here, which is fairly clean and a little bit heavier, so it's a better grain. So this is where I got them. A lot of boxes there. One wanted to do it, not for me. So we'll take a few back into the shop and get started. Okay, I have 17 of these now are ready. We're going to go on the lathe and I'm going to do one step at a time to each 17 pieces and then on to the second step, all 17. Seems to be the quickest way. So, here we go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this round to about 2.5. I have a little storage stick here I use to show the top, the body, and the recess that I'm going to put in for the tenon on the box. I like to just cut in a little bit before I use the straight tool. It keeps it from splintering out on the side. Now I'm going to make the tenon on the bottom. This has to be at the recess where the tenon is, has to be at 2 1/8 inches. You need to keep that as close as possible. That's what determines how your cover fits. I'm using just a 1/4 inch parting tool. to make just a little undercut right at the base of the tenon. It just makes it easier to work when I have to fit the top. Okay, that's it for the first operation. I'll do one more here. Okay, we got all 17 of the number one operation on the lathe done. Now we're going to do step 2 on the lathe. And I'll chuck these back up in my 4-jaw chuck. You see I have an area marked in here on my chuck. I like to put a little mark in here next to the jaw. It's on the tenon, so it's all going to come off in the end. That way when I put it back in, I put it back in the same way. It's a good practice for anything that you're doing on the lathe. Now I'm going to bore a 1 3/4 hole just in about 3/16 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch deep in the end, and that's where I'll put my accent disc in. I'm going to make these tops will be flat in the end. I made some others where they were radiused. I think it'll work better if it's flat and a little bit smaller accent disc. So here we go. I'm running about 700 RPM. That's plenty deep enough. That will accept my chuck if I have to, but I'm going to grab it on the outside when I bore the inside. So that's the first thing to do. Next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to part this cover part off. I can find my parting tool. Okay, here it is. This is just a Robert Sorby plain parting tool. Speed up to 1,000. Not going to go all the way on that. It's a little deep. I'm trying to save as much of this tenon as I can. So I got my saw here and I'll just cut it off. I'm marking these on the inside here, just in case it'll all get covered up. Okay, now I'm going to bore this one out. I'm going to rough bore it with my 1 3/4 that's already in there. These boxes aren't all exactly the same depth. They're about 2 inches, so I don't want to go too far. So I'm just going to come up to about that, well short of that line there on this one. Okay, that's bore that out one side bigger now, out to 1 7/8. Goes easier by doing it with 2 holes, two-step process. About 350 on this. Okay. Now, see if the cover fits. Oops, I forgot. I got to bore the cover. Tighten this just tight enough to hold it. Now I'm going to bore out the inside of the cover, which is 2 1/8. I want to be careful I don't go all the way through. There's a little fuzz in there, I might as well get out while I'm here. Okay. Take that out. Just stick this back in temporarily here. You see that one's a little tight, so that's good. That isn't a little loose. If we can fix that right here now, it'd be a good time to do it. Very close, very close. Creep up on it. See if I can see where that's fitting. Oh. Okay, that was perfect for now anyway. You can always loosen it up later. Good deal. Alright, that is step number 2 on the lathe. I'll let the camera run, I'll do one more here. Okay, here's the next step for making up the inserts that are going to go into the tops. They're going to end up cutting them, I don't know, maybe 1/4 of an inch thick, and gluing them into the top. This is just some Some I've already done. This wood is one of the hardest woods I've ever turned. And it's, can't remember the name of it right now, but Mora, M-O-R-A. And then I did some walnut. And now I've got the tiger wood piece here that I'm going to turn. All I did was stack up a bunch of pieces of scrap, not tiger wood, zebra wood that I had. So we're going to turn this into a 1.5 inch blank, and then we'll cut them off, trying to avoid the seams when I cut them off to make inserts out of them. So here we go. I gotta stop and sharpen my tool. When I did that Mora wood yesterday, it really dulled every tool I touched to it. So, okay, here we go. Let's see if that's going to be any better. I'm using a Ellsworth 5/8 side ground chisel. That's it. Yeah, this is good. Okay, I'm ready to fine tune these little discs I'm going to insert in the covers. I just cut them off on the table saw, laying them in a V-block. I didn't show that, but it's just lay them in a V-block, set up a stop, cut them off at about 1/4 inch. So they're all a little too big, which is what I wanted. So I'm going to put them in. I have a dowel in here that is about the same size as this. So I just put this in here like this. Line that up. And then just create a taper on it with my skew chisel, which I'm going to use as a negative rake scraper, and just put a bevel on it. See, that fits in there pretty good. I just squeeze that down in and good to go. Okay, I'm ready to glue in all these inserts into the top. So this is how I do it. Pretty straightforward operation. I won't spend a lot of time here. Just put the glue around. I have these marked on the inside so I can keep track of where they all go. Just put the glue in there. That one there. Squeeze it in. Okay, next step on the lathe is, after I put these tops in, is I'm going to put them in, shape it, finish sand it, and one coat of sanding sealer on it. So that's the next step. Just to back up a little bit on these lids on these inserts in the top, I tapered them because it was kind of quick and easy way to do it, but that's not really a good idea. I should have tried to fit them in square down in, because if you go too far on the top, you'll end up with a gap around here. So I've been taking just enough off to, but not too much, so that it runs into my taper and then you'll have a gap there. So as always learn something first time around. Second time around, you probably know a little bit more. So here we go. Alright, what I like to do is take care of this top part first, and then I'll come back and finish the rest of it. So I just tape these on. I use a blue tape. This particular wood is what I call a Chinese pallet wood. Basically came into the ports up in Tampa from China, and these are all the 3x3 bolsters that they stacked their steel on, and I ended up getting a truckload of them from a guy. So if you put a real strong tape on there, which I did first time around, and I pulled the tape off, it actually pulled some grain, pulled some wood with it, so we don't want that. We don't have any to spare here. The lid is pretty tight, so it won't need much. I'm turning most of the time at 1260. Seems to work better on the smaller grain. Take light cuts here. leave a little bit of a crown on there, not much, just a little. Okay, now I'm going to start just sanding that end off. I'm going to start it at 180. Work my way up maybe just to 220, and then I'll work the other part. You'll see. I usually wear a dust mask for this operation. I'm not just for this one for the video here. There's the 80 grit going to 100 grit. $120. We'll bring the tailstock up now. We'll hold the cover on. Even though it is tight, it's better to hold it on. Put a little tape over the ends here so it don't mark it. Just a little pressure, just enough to hold the cover on. Okay, I'm going to have to go down the outside of this with the chisel again, even things up. Ideally on these I should have left the stock a little bit longer so that my bottom ended up in here. Now my bottom is right next to my chuck, so I have to get in there and even it up with my skew chisel negative rake scraper. Okay, I'm going to sand this up through the grits, up through 150 before I put, I'll put a little groove in there, you'll see. Here we go, 80 grit again. I'm going to reverse it. If you have any imperfections in there, it's best to get them out with the chisel and then the 80 grit. And don't go any further until you got them all out. It'll make your life much easier. You don't have to sand that much with the remaining grits. So I'm going to 100 now. I don't have any. Everything looks good. On 20. $150. Okay, at this point, I'm going to put a little accent groove right on my right on my cover joint, which is very hard to see on this one. That's good. I'm basically just using a I'm not sure what you call these, a V-point scraper, I guess. You can see the I don't know, looks like about a 30-degree angle or whatever. So I'm going to very carefully go in there, particularly on this one because I can hardly see it, find a place where I can see it. Okay, right there. Okay, that looks good. The reason I go up to 150 grit before I put the groove in is I don't want to be sanding part of the shallowing the groove off with the more coarse sandpaper. So we're going to just continue sanding here now. I'm going to start with a 180. Okay, now finishing these is, I'm trying to keep the finishing down to a very minimum. So all I'm doing, and you can do it any way you want, but the idea is to make these boxes in the least amount of time as possible. So right now, all I do is I take some Zinger's Bullseye Shellac, and just spray that on there. Turn it way down for that. Now, because I want to get that off of there. Okay, next up on the lathe here is I'm going to chuck these back up real quick, hit them with 600 grit sandpaper, put a coat of urethane on them, and then wipe it off like I did the shellac. And then I'll polish them on the polisher later. That should give me enough to polish up. The whole idea of this thing is to get on a quick and easy finish. Here we go. All I'm doing with the 600. All I need there. Okay, now get these out of here without touching them as much as I can. Set them down right here. Another one in. Okay, I'm going to show you the process I use for the inside of these now. Instead of sanding them, which takes a lot of time, I'm just going to put blocking in there, and I'll show you how I do it. So you can see I'm going to put it inside here and inside the top of the cover. So this is the blocking paint here. Be careful not to get it on the outside. If you do, wipe it up right away. Get a good heavy coat on the bottom. And one more brush full for the sides. Does it. You need to have a reasonably thick coat so it gives the suede fiber something to stick to. And for the smaller brush, I just want to do the bottom. I don't want to do the inside of the lid lip because it may interfere with the fit of the cover. Pretty good. Now I have my blocking colors here. They come in different colors. This is the, I don't know what you call it, reddish brown. And for the different colors you use a different color primer paint. This can all be bought on Amazon or other places. I just pour in here. Maybe a quarter of a plate full or so. And just shake it vigorously like that, and then kind of rotate it. All you're doing is trying to drive those suede fibers into the paint so that it sticks. Take the cover off, shake any loose stuff back into the container. And then set them aside for a good overnight dry. It's not a quick dry, so don't try to mess with anything until it's dry. Okay, I'm getting ready to polish these up on my polishing system here. I've blocked the insides, as you saw. Also, I just cleaned off this lip here, makes it look a little cleaner. Now I'm going to polish them up. The first wheel I use is with I believe they call this the Triple E compound stick, and it goes, put a little on the wheel like that. I just want to show you, I don't know if you can see the finish here before, but I kind of want to show you what this does here. Just do the cover here on the first one, give you a good idea of the polish. I think you can see the difference in that. And then also after this, I'll use the white wheel, which has the white finer compound that kind of cleans up all the previous triple E and actually polishes it up a little bit more. So I'll put 3 coats of, or 2 coats of urethane on the bottom. Alright, I'm going to put on the white wheel now with this finer compound that removes all the triple E if there's any on there, and just adds a little bit to it, cleans it up. You won't see a whole lot of difference, but I'll show you a couple of them how I do it. You don't need a lot of this, just a little brush like that. There it is before. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Now we'll put it on here. Okay, it does make a difference. I can see it here. Okay, that's one that's complete. Polishing them with a Beal polisher gives them a really nice feel. So when somebody picks that up, if it feels good, they might better chance of selling it. Because I want to get that off of there and put another one on and continue on. What I do is take a paper towel. I gotta run over here and get one. I just take and wipe that up down a little bit. Whoop. That didn't work. I'm actually going to spray that again and go on a little heavy being you're going to wipe it off. It just gets a coat on there. I polish these on my Bio polisher at the very end. You'll see. I'll also, not at this point, but I put one coat of quick dry urethane on there, and I also wipe it down so I don't have a gloss finish. So for right now, I can take that out of there carefully and go on to the next one. Oh, where'd you go? Sorry about that, you fell down. But anyway, that's the end of this operation on the lathe. Well, there you saw that.